Good afternoon, Antrim County. This is Veterans Voice Podcast with your hosts, Matt, Brandon, and Carrie, and our special guest, Nikki Park. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Pretty good. You
Round
feel
two.
special?
Very special. You are. You are.
Not as special as me.
Well, you know.
So,
We all
Carrie,
strive for something.
I am telling you, goals, hashtag, right? So, Carrie, you actually met up with Nikki, sorry, first. Like, tell me about that.
You came in one day to, just to file a claim? I don't even remember. Actually, I met Matt first. Matt, yes.
Oh,
you
yeah.
did.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At an event, one of our outreach events, right? Or something?
I called the office. I'm new to the area. I just moved up to Bel Air about almost 2 years ago now, this June. I was new to the area, and of course, I'm a veteran, Navy veteran, so I reached out to the VA here knowing, that I could. At the time, Matt was the only one in the office. He was very overloaded. There was nobody else in the office. And he called me one day and he goes, okay, I got some help. He goes, we can get this done. He goes, her name's Carrie. What do you think? Do you want to work with her or do you want to stay with me? I said, yeah, let's go. Sister love. Let's give her a try, give her a whirl. Well, who would have known that my case would be as difficult as it was, so.
Well, it just took some development, but honestly, and during the VA process, they were slow on that side, right?
Yeah.
And I think yours got deferred a couple of times for other, right? So, but we talked about this earlier, and I guess I know you've had this road in front of you for so long, and the fact that you stuck with it, that's awesome because it's very easy to get discouraged, and we talked about like being disheartened and kind of just leaving the VA and going off on your own track and letting life play out. So the fact that you stuck with it is pretty awesome.
Well, and it was a tough road to stick out. I've stuck it out through 8 different states in probably 6 different counties throughout Michigan.
Wow.
Considering the road for me with the VA started 20 years ago when I was 23 years old. Shortly after I got out of the military was my first run-in with the VA, and it was not a pleasant experience whatsoever. I fought VAs left and right. I had partial benefits for a little while. I had a 27% rating or 30% rating for a little while, and then they did a bunch of really big budget cuts with the VA shortly after, I'd say probably around 2007, 2008. And because I was on the lower end of the beneficiary amount, my benefits were cut.
Really?
I only received medical. I only received 30% medical. The other 70% was my responsibility to pay back then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, they completely dropped me. In one of the conversations in another state, this was in Idaho, because I had an early discharge date, even though it was still honorable. I did serve during the time of war. It was the military that wanted to discharge me for their own convenience because of my situation at the time. And so when I called for help from the local VA office there, she said, well, you didn't really serve all your time, so you're not really considered a veteran. I would more call you a humanitarian that helped your country out for 3 years.
Hell no.
Oh my gosh. I had no idea.
After that comment, I went rogue for about 4 years.
I'm going to say,
Until my cancer showed back up.
Yeah,
People don't realize how that can affect somebody. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
The ability to just listen and understand what's going on, but to dismiss veterans is definitely not anybody in the VA's job, unfortunately.
Not in any way. That's why we always say, like on some of our other podcasts, we talk about it. And like when people come in here, they might be afraid to come in to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
and you're afraid of being treated that way, you know, and
yeah, we don't
they
want
look
that.
at me and they say, okay, you don't look sick. What's wrong with you? You know, we got veterans that are missing limbs. We got veterans this, veterans that, and you're standing here in front of us perfectly fine, or what appears to be perfectly fine.
That is just the worst assumption for anyone to make. I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yeah, and the whole reason I had called the VA for assistance in Idaho was because I was homeless. I had been homeless for 3 years after the first bout with cancer.
Wow.
See, I didn't know any of that.
I didn't know that either.
Yep, I called them for assistance. That was back when it was no veteran left on the street. You know, no homeless veterans was everybody's cry. Well, I wasn't a veteran, I was a humanitarian.
And
To
no
that
help
one
was given
person.
at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
We could say a lot about that,
I
but
was-
we all know that's wrong.
And then,
And I mean, I'm sure Carrie can vouch for me. When I come in here, I was torn down. I was.
Oh, yeah.
You could see the defeat in me, you know, and
Yeah.
I really had nowhere to go.
Yeah. You look so much better now, though.
right?
Like you
Massive.
look like you're glowing now. Like you look you did look like you were sick, and you because you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, going for 20 years with nobody believing you, you know, and being made to feel like, you know, what you're going through isn't validated. And, you know, then you get labeled a liar, then you get labeled this, and you get labeled that. And you have people in your personal life, you know, that also look at you and say, well, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, I had a person I was telling you guys earlier, at work that looked at me and said, how can you be disabled? You're working.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's unfortunately, you get people who don't understand or haven't been there, and, you know.
Yep. So, I mean, I can see where people get turned off from the VA.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, like I said, very, very appreciative that you've stuck through it and, you know, chose to came back in and kept going, because it's very easy to get disheartened, especially when you got the outside that are saying stuff like that, or, you know,
Yeah.
going off of visual perception versus, you know, the inner battles, or, you know, health isn't just visually
Right.
seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to today, where you look like Carrie says, you're looking a heck of a lot better, like
Thank
just
you.
out and going and smiling and happy and
Yeah.
everything. So
Yep.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Thank you.
It
Yeah.
absolutely is.
It's good to see.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got a vest on.
Yes. I ride a motorcycle. I'm a member of ABETA, Michigan. ABETA stands for American Bikers Aiming Towards Education.
Okay.
What we do is we teach motorcycle safety. We go into schools, driver training classes, and we teach about motorcycle safety. You've probably seen a lot of our signs, especially out in May,
Yeah.
which is Motorcycle Awareness Month. They say, look twice, save a life.
Yeah.
Motorcycles are everywhere. We work in Lansing also, and in Washington, D.C., and we fight for bikers' rights. Right now, we're working on insurance reform for the motorcycle aspect of Michigan motor vehicle insurance. Before, you probably heard a lot about our fight in Lansing about the Michigan helmet law.
Okay.
Our president at the time, Vince, he was the one that fought in Lansing and really rallied and really pulled in the troops, I guess you could say, you know, to really get that law passed. And, you know, we do a lot more than that. We do a lot in our communities. As part of Region 5, when I lived down in that area, I ran their Christmas program. Beta Region 5. We overseen 5 counties in the state of Michigan, which were Muskegon, Lake, Mason, Oceana, and Newaygo counties.
Okay, yeah.
And we would adopt a family every year and provide them a full Christmas.
Cool.
Presents, stocking stuffers, full outerwear for the kids, a Christmas dinner, and it was all delivered by Santa and his leather-wearing elves.
Oh, that's so awesome.
Cool.
When I did the program, we ended up doing 5 families, 1 in each county every year, and then we went into the Hackley Children's Hospital and provided all the children on the ward with a Christmas also.
Just that
cute.
impact on people is amazing. It really is.
Yeah, you know, I mean, people hear biker, they think Sons of Anarchy, they think, you know, Hell's Angels, they think these 1%ers, ooh. That's not bikers anymore.
No, no.
I mean, I work in mental health. I ride a motorcycle. Our lawyer that does all the work for ABATE throughout the state of Michigan, he rides motorcycle. You know, I mean, we have doctors, lawyers, anybody you can think of.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and then having that tight-knit community as well, and in the experience. I mean, shoot, we were talking about it beforehand, like all your experience, you know, but it all comes together, you know, in the group and how you can help benefit each other in the community and stuff like that. That's
exactly. And I mean, a lot of the time you'll see veterans when they come out of the military. A lot of veterans will join into these motorcycle organizations and these motorcycle clubs because they're run like the military.
Yeah.
And it's a brotherhood like the military. It's a family like the military. They're structured like the military. They run like the military. So, I mean, bikers, veterans just kind of go hand in hand sometimes.
It helps fill that void.
It does.
That camaraderie is a big thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And really, since I came out of the military, I had no place until I found my ABATE family.
That's awesome.
That's cool. And that was when you came to Michigan then?
When I came back
to Michigan. Yeah. And we're glad you're here.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you said Idaho. Was that where you were stationed at?
No, I was stationed in Texas.
Okay.
Down in Ingleside. I was on a minesweeper. Actually, that's her right there.
Okay. Tattoo. Cool.
Yep. My ship, I was on the USS Incheon. I was a damage controlman and worked on the flight deck for a little while as an ABH. Got bored with that. I don't know how you can call a flight deck boring, but it got boring for me, so I moved on to firefighting.
Okay.
And I was one of the first people on the ship to cross rate from airman to fireman. I was also the first person in the history of my ship to ever stand a DC Central watch as an E2.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Usually you had to be at least an E6 or higher to stand that watch.
That's pretty good.
So it was
awesome.
Yeah, when it comes to Navy, I got to refer to him.
I don't know what an ABH is, believe it or not.
Aviation boatsman, mate.
Oh, yeah, I do. I was going to say, wait a minute. Believe it or not, I've done, now that I think about it, I've done three claims.
Our Navy guy.
Yeah, it was a couple older guys, but yeah. Wow, I can't believe I didn't remember that.
He's like, wait a minute. And that's where you were exposed, like, to you used the AFFF, the aqueous film forming
foam.
Yeah, I always get.
We did a lot of it on the flight deck in crash and salvage. When I worked with the helicopters, I started out as a blue shirt, moved up to a yellow shirt, and then did a little bit of crash and salvage too. And then that's when I cross-rated to being a fireman. But as a fireman, that's a firefighting agent. We pretty much swam in that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, during work when we would go to trainings, things like that. You know, I mean, it just you couldn't avoid exposure.
Especially on a ship, they want to get that out, and the foam's going to smother it. So
my big one is I've heard, and this is from multiple different Navy people and stuff, but especially on those small ships, that usually can taste like fuel in the water and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
how true that is, but that's
Yeah.
I've been told that multiple times.
If
You
the
know, it's
water on the ship
crazy.
tastes soapy, it's because of AFFF.
Wow.
Pretty much AFFF is just a soap agent that creates a film that is pretty much fire retardant and puts out fires, smothers them. That's pretty much what I remember from it. It has been multiple years, but
Yeah.
I don't, I am happy to admit my age, but gracefully.
Yeah, and they have since stopped using that, even like for
Oh, yeah,
I mean
civilian
firefighters
side.
all
Yes.
over.
Yeah.
So because of the toxicity of it and all the effects of it, like causing cancer.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
it is not a PACT Act type of a claim, but it can be. It can be the reason why. That in your case, that's what it was. That's how it was related to your cancer and your. As far as we know, that's. Yeah,
Well, I
tough
mean,
one.
So,
They amend acts, they amend bills, they amend laws, they amend all sorts of things. So with the PACT Act, much like things are done in, our government, they're hopefully going to come to a point where they will amend the PACT Act and they will add an amendment where it will include AFFF into that exposure, toxicity exposure.
or they just do a whole one just on that alone,
Yeah.
because even on the bases, you know what I'm saying? That,
Yeah.
From what I've
In-
heard, they're looking at it being on the levels of Agent Orange
Yeah.
exposures.
Makes sense.
And I know that the one bill that we saw written up so far, this was a while ago, and they may have changed it. It's not passed or gone anywhere, but they were trying to make it a minimum of a 5-year exposure to the stuff, which is unrealistic. And we're, hopefully they're going to change that, like to try to, if they do try to push something through.
Well, I mean, honestly, you can look at my case and
Yeah.
tell that it
Yeah.
doesn't take a 5-year
No.
exposure.
It takes a one time maybe, who knows, really.
I mean, after I got out of boot camp, after I got out of ATD school, after I worked on the flight deck for a while, I had my first exposure to AFFF during a firefighting training that I had in Norfolk. Then after I had the exposure, the training, everything like that, I would say I was only exposed to it because I come off my ship and had a period of shore duty admin work that I did during that time I was in. So I would say my exposure was at least a year.
Yeah.
And I would say no more than a year and 3 months. And my cancer started 3 years out of the military.
Yeah.
And through genetic testing, because my case, once you get to a stage 3 or higher, or you have reoccurring cancers, they're starting to do genetic testing. In my case, they did genetic testing because this last time I was rated at a stage 3C, almost stage 4. They found out that I tested negative for 77 types of different cancer, including the 4 types I've had. And it stated on my genetical testing that the cancer that I had been experiencing over the 20 years after getting out of the military was environmentally caused and it was no way genetically tied.
Yeah. And I think that was the key thing in your case for your claim. I don't know, but that was very helpful in backing up the fact that you, like, why you got cancer, or maybe,
Yeah.
we don't know, but we'll still try to put stuff in for it when we,
Yeah.
because we've seen it before too. I don't know. I've seen other AFFF possibly related claims.
Well, and as new as this is, they don't know the effects. They don't know how long the effects are going to take to come out in people, and everybody's different. Mine come
Yeah.
out right away. And I've been fighting for it for 20 years now.
Right.
Other people, it might come out 10 years down the road. And maybe they don't know it's because it's tied to it.
Right.
you know, and,
Yeah.
you know, it will evolve and develop just like it did with Agent Orange and the whole case, and, you know, finding out about exactly what is to come. You know, they told me, yeah, you're in remission, but pretty much see you next time.
Yeah.
Wherever it pops up, we'll see you next time. So it's just a waiting game. And it's because they don't know. They don't have experience with it.
It's going to take time to figure that piece out for sure.
It is.
But I'm glad that, you know, I know you mentioned that your original experience with the VA was really rough, and then how you were accepted, and then because the percentage wasn't high enough, they kind of dropped the VA healthcare coverage back then, right?
Yeah.
Which kind of left you on your own, and especially when you're going through all this diagnosis and, you know, treatments and side effects and everything like that, you know. Tells you how far the VA's come, you know, since, especially, man, since the last decade or so, it has really escalated and stuff, and you were able to get some help from them now.
I can attest to the more modern ways of the VA, and the way a lot of things are changed in the way that they're viewed and the way that people are treated. I've been treated better by the VA this time around than I ever have by anybody with the VA before.
Good.
That includes here in the office, and that also includes the medical facilities.
That's awesome.
You know, when my claim went through, you know, I heard horror stories of people waiting years and years to get checks, you know, or waiting years. Bam, like that. They had mine started.
Yeah.
They called me within 2 days of my claim being approved to set up medical care.
That's awesome.
Yes. Get me in. Within a month, I was seeing specialists. I was seeing a primary care doctor. Within 3 months, I had all my community care referrals done, out, set, and ready to go.
That's good. Yeah.
That's awesome, and that helps out a lot.
It does.
You know,
It's a big deal.
not just, you know, that you're getting the care, but in the mental piece of it as well.
Yeah.
You know, you're being acknowledged. They're taking care. They're doing something to help out.
Exactly. You know, I mean, through treatments and everything, I lost a lot of weight. Being sick for so long without the cancer being detected in between times, there was, they think, a 7 to 9 year period where they did a hysterectomy the second time my cancer came back. Thought they had it all, and they didn't. Come to find out. So for 7 to 9 years, my cancer grew, my cancer developed to the stage where it was almost stage 4.
Yeah.
So for 7 to 9 years, I was ill with cancer, sick with cancer. My teeth were falling out, my hair was falling out. I showed Carrie pictures of me when I was 73 pounds.
Oh man.
And the doctors that in the civilian world that I was working with, because of my age, they were like, well, we can't figure out what's going on with you. We don't know. We don't know. And I was begging for a colonoscopy. How many people beg for a colonoscopy?
Right.
Come on. Yeah, I want a colonoscopy. Come on. Yeah, I need that fix. You know. No, they denied it. It was not medically necessary, but they removed my gallbladder.
They went and did everything else but that
Oh my
to
Everything
figure
but
it
that.
out.
And then when they couldn't figure it out, they figured, well, she has no teeth, her hair's falling out, she's skinny, she's a drug addict, so she's pill seeking.
Oh, God.
So they labeled me a pill seeker in their medical records.
Oh my God.
And from then on out, every time I showed up at the doctor's office with something wrong, I had a doctor look at me with my daughter sitting there fighting for me in the emergency room before I moved to Traverse City, and got in my face and said, until you get off the meth, nothing will help you.
My,
Oh, hell no.
what?
8 months later, I had been living in Traverse City for 6 months, finally got established with the doctor. They sent me to a digestive health specialist. They said, okay, we're going to do a colonoscopy. They got an 1/8 of an inch inside my anus and found an 8-inch by 4-inch tumor.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So
I
now,
wonder why.
yeah. Unfortunately, the tumor cut through sphincter muscles, and the 2 sphincter muscles no longer work. There was damage to my colon, my rectum, and part of my large intestine. So now I'm left with a colostomy bag. So, you know, veterans really need to have that support out there like you three. You know, you guys, I wish you guys were around 20 years ago. Well, I know
too.
you were, but you weren't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
Man.
But the key to that story, sorry, my ADHD.
No.
Squirrel.
We all got it.
Yeah.
oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Don't give up. Don't stop. Don't quit fighting. I moved to different states to fight different VAs because I knew I was right. I moved to different counties. I moved different people within offices. Don't give up. Keep fighting.
Yeah.
You know, with that past bad experiences that we've talked about and stuff like that, the fact that you maintain your resolve throughout the entirety of it, but not just that. I mean, you're a mobile platform to speak on, you know, your experiences and how the VA has changed, and also being that vet that keeps the hope alive for other vets as well. You know, you were talking about it a little bit ago that you're a peer specialist as well.
Yes, I am a peer support specialist with the state of Michigan. I was receiving treatment pretty heavily. Like I had 7 to 8 appointments a week to the
That's
point
a
where
lot.
I couldn't work because when you're sick, when people don't believe you, when all this stuff is going on, it really takes a toll on your mental health. And when you're already having difficulty from a situation that occurred while you were in the military that also people were not believing you about, that affecting your daily life, that affecting your daily relationships, you know, I was in a bad place. And after 3 years of that kind of treatment, they said, you're starting to help people in group. You know, you're helping people outside a group. You're handing your number out. Do you want a job? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I can't work for mental health. I am mental health. Yeah. And they said, no, there's this thing called peer support specialist. I'm like, okay, I've never heard of that. What is that? And they're like, well, it's a peer. As veterans, the 3 of us, that makes us peers. They said, you have a mental health condition that you received treatment for and came out on the other side with. That's inspiration to other people with mental health issues. Not to mention, we have the book side of it. You have the life side of it. You lived it. You know what works. We could read a book and tell you how to deal with an anxiety attack. But you could walk up to somebody and say, do this, it works.
Yeah, you've learned through the experience and stuff like that. And that's a big thing through the veteran community is trusting the person, right?
Yeah.
I can't tell you how often or what it means to vets to have another vet on the other side.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's why when I got my state certification back in 2017, as of 2019, there were only 38 states that recognized the peer support specialist role in the mental health field and actually provided jobs, training, and the ability for them to use their skills. But all along the VA, statewide uses peer support specialists. Because a non-veteran can walk into a room all day and say, okay, what's going on? And you're just going to look at them and go,
Why does it matter? Why am I going to say anything?
Yeah.
what the hell is it going to do? What do you care? How are you going to know what I'm going through? But I walk in there, what's up?
Nope.
Fucking boot stompers. Squid. Air Force, right? Airhead.
Air
You know,
Force.
That's a new one.
Jarhead.
That's a less used one.
I like it.
Yeah.
My Uncle Johnny was in Air
Yeah.
Force, and he'd call me a squid, I'd call him an airhead.
Yeah, it's
My
cute.
second ex-husband was Army. I called him a boot stomper, he called me a squid. You know,
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
fun.
us. It's out of love.
Yep.
Exactly.
It's siblings.
Yeah.
We fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but you have somebody walk in there that knows, you're more likely to open up and utilize what that person has to offer you. I can walk into a veteran in the middle of a crisis because I've done this in my home or my office back in Ludington. We had a veteran. I actually ran the vet to vet program for Mason County.
That's cool.
It's a program where veterans offer group skill building for veterans in the community through the mental health system. So a peer support specialist runs this program. And it's a written program that it has been approved and utilized through mental health. I utilize that group to teach skills. And it went from them saying that they had 0 group attendance because they put out this flyer that said veteran support group, this date and time here. Well, what veteran do you know is going to take advantage of that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you're just walking by a billboard or a poster board in a grocery store, which is where they're usually pinned up, you know, I worked with clients and I would bring veterans in, and veterans would say, wow, this program is amazing. She actually knows what the hell she's talking about. And I have one guy on Facebook who still thanks me to this day, who's a veteran that I worked with severe PTSD. Everybody in the office was afraid to go to his home.
Man,
Would not do home appointments, but he could not come out of his home. I walked into his home. After 1 year, he posted on Facebook that he had went shopping alone at Myers for groceries.
That's big stuff.
Yeah.
So the power of a peer is amazing. And I love that the VA utilizes that.
Yeah. That's awesome. See, we had no idea. Would we have known this about you the first day you walked in? No.
I think it's
And
pretty
just-
cool.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a lot more experiences to talk about. We'll get to that for sure. But I mean, and the fact that you're considering to go back to school too for social work, right?
Yes, I'm actually getting ready to go back to school to get my MSW, or Masters of Social Work. And I will be getting a minor in psychology. I'm working towards getting a psychology doctorate after
Okay.
my master's.
Awesome.
My whole goal is to work with veterans.
There you go.
I want to be a therapist because I know there's not enough of them out there.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of them out there, the majority of them have never experienced mental health crisis. None of them have experienced a mental health episode. None of them have experienced a traumatic event. So how can they really help?
It's true.
It's a real small percentage, if there are any that that have, and that's what I've heard from other mental health care workers too.
And
I was gonna say, like, you know, Daryl and all those guys at Galen
Yeah.
and stuff. You know, he always made the joke that, you know, behind every good therapist, that they have a therapist
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
It's no joke, but
No.
you know, there's not that many people actually jumping into that role, let alone veterans. You know what I mean? So that would be an immense help.
Absolutely, you know, and it's a very shameless type of work too. You know, my colleagues and I, we've walked into people's homes, found them unalived, where they have unalived themselves. A couple of them were veterans that I was trying to get onto my caseload, but the case manager thought that they were too severe for me to work with, which hit me hard. You know, I actually took a month worth of time off after that for mental health purposes, because that hit me really hard. They were two people that were in my group, my vet-to-vet group.
Yeah.
You know, and so the whole every counselor's got a counselor. I mean, I love it.
The
And
secondary trauma is a real thing.
it is.
Yeah. And think about the wait times that you have for the VA. I mean, these people are doing the best they can, but
Yeah.
you have only so many of them, you know. I've, for probably about 2 months now, was waiting for, you know, counseling appointments and stuff like that. So imagine somebody who's actually in that need. Now, there's other resources out there that help that immediate system, you know, thank goodness. But being that peer support specialist and knowing there's somebody there not be able to do anything, and then are they receiving that, you know?
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
And even that initial contact, when if someone thinks that you're brushing them off, that could be it. Never, you know, they could never come back.
Yeah. You know, and
We
there
don't
were
want that.
times when the hospital would call me in because I had what was called ECPR training. And it's exactly what it sounds like, emotional CPR training. We were trained to come in with law enforcement, medical professionals, to help to de-escalate people that are in the middle of a mental health crisis. I see a lot of that with veterans.
Yeah.
When I was doing the work, I seen a lot of the crises were with the veterans. And seeing that and actually experiencing it myself, the lack of care, the inability to get in, things like that, that's what's inspired me to want to go further and utilize, I think Carrie called it the VREA.
Oh,
VRNE.
VRNE?
VRNE.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to utilize something that the Veterans Agency is offering to me to further better benefit veterans.
Heck yeah.
You know,
Including
and
yourself.
the programs.
Yeah.
You know, these programs. I love that you guys are here in Antrim County. You're available. I can come in. I can call. I can email, and these programs that you guys have available at your fingertips that you guys know about. It's like, you know, I'll see Carrie and I'll be at work and she's like, oh yeah, did you hear about this program? Or, hey, did you get the email about that program? And I'm like, oh, no,
Yeah.
I'll have to make an appointment to come see you about that.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and going back to don't be scared to ask for help. Don't be
That's
scared to call the office.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to come in and ring the bell and say, hey, I need help.
Yeah.
Because these guys are here and they're always willing to help.
Thanks.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah. We try. I mean, we might be busy, but we're never mad when someone shows up.
Well, you guys have been the best VA office in 30 years, so.
Well, that's awesome.
Thanks.
That's great to hear.
And I've been
That
through
is.
more than most.
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep trying to read your tattoo on your left arm there.
We got to
This
get
one?
some pictures of her, the
The
one
other
of
one
the ship
on the
too.
other on
Yeah.
the
Oh,
forearm
that
side.
one? That one says, rock bottom became a solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life.
I like that.
Yeah.
I got that tattoo along with my semicolon, my butterfly, after one of many suicide attempts for myself.
Yeah.
You know, disclosure, I attempted suicide myself 4 times. I say I successfully completed it 3 times because I had to be brought back.
Damn.
You know, that's going through with the veterans, the depression, the
Yeah.
sickness, the non-belief, the PTSD, the depression, the anxiety, everything that
And how
comes
fast
along.
all that adds up, and then you know, not being able to get the services needed.
Not to mention being a mom of 3 daughters.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
I had 3 daughters that, you know, I was raising on top of everything I was struggling with. And I showed you guys the post my daughter just
Oh,
posted.
yeah.
Yeah, right before you came in. That's so cool.
She's 21, and she dances on a semi-professional football league dance cheer team.
That's cool.
It's a Sparks dance team for the Ironmen out of Muskegon.
That's cool.
And she had her first game, first year on the dance squad. You know, she's a new mom herself. I have a granddaughter that's 2 years old. I am a silver fox.
I love it.
So, and she texted me and she said, Mommy, I am so scared and I am so nervous. She goes, are you sure you're going to be able to make it? I have never cheered at a single game or danced at a single recital without you there.
Oh, wow.
Aw.
I did that for all 3 of my girls.
Yeah.
I was there for
Well,
everything
going
I was
through
able to be there for. I coached all their sports growing up until they hit high school. Once they hit high school, I was the team mom. Funny story, actually, my youngest daughter coaching softball knocked my teeth out.
Really?
Oh my
Gosh.
Wow.
I took a fast pitch to the mouth because she
You're
was
just-
a pitcher.
That's so awesome, though, that you've done all that stuff. And we, you know, we can relate to some of it. Obviously, very different experiences, but I think it's really important that people know, you know, like we keep saying, or I keep saying, that they can just walk in
Exactly.
and ask here
Absolutely.
and not be ashamed.
No.
Because sometimes you get that from people where they come and they want something, they need something, and our job is to figure out what that is.
Well, I know I was in a position, you know, I worked here in town and I was only getting 1 day a week. But at the
Yeah, I
time,
remember.
I was so weak and so sick
Yeah.
that I couldn't work more than 1 day a week.
Yeah.
And I was having trouble buying food, and my tires were bald on my car, and it was middle of winter, and I had no food. I was hungry, and I was sick on top of it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was the hardest thing in the world to tuck my tail and have to ask for help.
Especially after all the times you tried before.
Yeah, and got just pretty much spit in the face.
Yeah.
But when I walked into your guys' office, I felt like I was walking into open arms. I
That's good.
really did.
That's good.
And, you know, I would come in the office and Carrie would say, we found you help. And I'd break down crying, and
Yeah.
Carrie would hug me.
I'm like, are you okay? Can I hug you?
Yeah. You know, and I know it's hard. I know it's hard to take that first step because I've been there so many times. But here, it's not that way. You know,
Thank you.
I see
That's good.
this as what I call a non-judgmental space.
Right, yeah.
For sure.
You know, I've said so many quirky, off-the-wall, weird-ass,
Oh,
angry, threatening things in this office, and they just let me rant and rave and say, okay, next question.
Yeah.
we might be all a little bit. Yeah, we hear some stuff among each other and, you know, others too.
Yeah.
But we get it.
Biggest thing is being there, you know, and being
Yeah.
seen and stuff like that. We try as hard as possible. Sometimes we can't see everybody in a day, but I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
We do the best we can with what we have, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard because we're limited, but we, you know, we'll take the time when we can to do stuff.
Well, I
Sometimes
mean-
people want things right away, and we try our best. And you've understood, you know,
How many veterans do you guys service in this office?
how many are in our county.
2,500 was kind of a weird number. I think it's a little less than 2,500
I
people.
thought it was more, but
Maybe. I don't know.
how many do we actually have contact with is
No,
another.
no, I mean like under your jurisdiction, like the county.
Well,
so
our
about
county-
2,500 plus.
Plus
Probably,
some from
yeah.
outside the county also. We get several.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
there's only 3 of you,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
you know, and it's not just the people that come in the office that you guys have a paper file on. You guys have veterans organizations that contact you for assistance with veterans
Big time.
that you have no contact with.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are out doing community outreach too. You guys work in the office here.
Doing claims, lots of claims.
But
and
people have to
financial
realize
assistance.
you're not robots. You also have a life. You also have a family. You also have things that you need to do. And that's where patience is going to really come in. Me,
Yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that for us.
I mean, I could be the most impatient person in the world because God knows how much time I have left. But you
Right.
know what?
None of us know.
But you know what? Patience is really a virtue.
It is.
And understanding that you're not the only person on somebody's caseload.
Yeah.
You know, you guys care about each and every veteran you make contact with. And I can feel that every time I call this office. If Carrie's unavailable,
Brandon, yeah.
Brandon's available. If Brandon and Carrie aren't available, Matt's available. If all three of them aren't available, I leave a message and I hear back from them within 24 hours.
Thank you.
48 hours if it's a real busy time.
Right, yeah.
Right.
Or
Sometimes
like-
that does happen.
Or
yeah.
if it's a holiday week,
Yeah.
you know, where they're only working 4 or 3 days, you know,
Yeah.
it might take them a couple days to get back to you. But
Right.
Yeah.
I'm either getting a call or an email back. And 9 times out of 10, I get calls and emails, and I don't answer them back. So then I get hunted down.
That's true. We're good
Right.
at hunting down people sometimes.
Yeah.
Which, you know, with my ADHD and my
Yeah.
flightiness, just
And
who I am.
PTSD mimics ADHD,
Yeah.
I learned too.
Yes,
Yeah.
it does.
So the hypervigilant stuff.
So I have both of it on top. So
Uh-huh. Yeah.
sometimes I have to be hunted down. And the good part is, you know, they did for me, but they realized how badly I needed that.
Right.
Because now that I got things taken care of and I'm feeling better and I'm straightened out, I can keep track of my shit a lot better.
I was gonna say, yeah.
I'm excited for you, and
Now,
it's just, man, it's
you're
such a
talking about
difference.
the abate. I used to work with a guy in Grand Traverse. What the heck is that? Grand Traverse, the tower.
Oh,
The top,
yeah.
over in Traverse City, Grand
The
Traverse
resort.
Resort. Yeah.
Oh,
Dave,
tower.
and I can't remember his last name, but Dave and his wife are really big into it too. But
Berg?
Dave Berg. Yep. Dave. Great guy.
Dave Berg was,
Absolute goofball.
he just recently was the president, or not the president, but the RC
Okay.
of Region 7, which is my new region.
That's awesome.
Gina is his wife.
Yep.
Great people, wonderful people. Love them to death. Gina is, she was a products person, and she does a lot of awareness. She does a lot of products booths around the area. So if you're into motorcycle awareness, you
Yeah.
know, get a hold of your local abate region and try to set up a time and stuff to maybe put up a booth. We have signs, we have shirts, we have bumper stickers, keychains, all sorts of stuff.
If you guys want us to share anything here,
Absolutely.
we can put stuff out here in
for
our
sure.
office.
we got
yeah.
a lot. We got a lot of vets to ride. So.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many veteran riding groups and clubs and organizations out there. It's wonderful to see. And like me, I travel all over the state doing what I do. You know, so with me traveling, you know, I get to see a lot. I get to pull in a lot. I get
Yeah.
a lot of outside fresh opinions, ideas, things like that. So
Sounds fun.
yeah, it
Yeah.
is. It's been a really good experience, and you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, motorcycle club."
Oh,
No,
yeah.
Abate's not a club. We are actually a political organization, and we fight for bikers' rights in Lansing. We do pizza and pop luncheons with our legislative
Cool.
and our Senate. The House, we work with representatives, talk with them. I did a lot of work with Kurt Vanderwall when he was Region 5. He was more of a rep back then, but he did a lot of work with Abate with us. But Dave Berg, he now is part of the state board.
Is he?
Yep, he's
Good.
part of the Abate of Michigan State Board of Directors.
That's awesome.
I was for a little while. for a few years until I got sick too. But it's a great organization and what they do.
That's good, yeah, because we have a lot of riders around here, and with the way that our roads go around all these lakes and some of the open roads, it's kind of scary. The more awareness, the better.
Well, and, you know, I mean, something that I can open up for you guys too is if you guys got a booth you can set up, I go to so many bike events in the spring, summer, fall where there are booths set up. And, you know, they wouldn't charge a veteran organization to come in and set up a booth and
That'd be cool.
promote, you know, the office and programs and availability of assistance and things like that, you know.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I would be happy to get you guys in with a lot of the events that we do.
We're mainly in our own. We have to stay within our own county.
Yeah.
For that purpose.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there's
Most
stuff
of what I
here,
do is in the county.
it's in our
Yeah.
county.
Nice.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
Or
If
in
you
our
let us
region,
know
but yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
we'll be at the Petoskey Stone Festival in May,
Okay.
and then if whatever else. I mean,
That's a pretty decent one right there, Petoskey
yeah,
Stone Fest.
that one.
There's-
Lot of booths.
They do a 9/11 memorial thing right outside of here. I forget where it's at.
Oh, yeah.
They do it like a bar place. It's got a big outside beer garden and stage and all that. I forget the name of it.
Dingman's Beer Garden?
No.
Well, I'm supposed to look that one up.
Two Horse Saloon? No.
I don't
Toonies.
know.
Huh? No.
Toonies? No.
I forget what it's
I
called.
don't know.
But we do a 9/11 remembrance run.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
okay.
And part of that run is we also do a flag burning.
There we go.
We go around and we dedicate flags to fallen brothers, fallen sisters, family members, community members, fallen bikers, you know, that were
Yeah.
veterans.
Okay.
You know, we go on a ride. We do a big like thing for 9/11.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, we would love to have you guys for that even, you know.
It's not in Central Lake, is it? I want
No.
to say there was one in Central Lake. No.
That was a bike night. That
Okay.
was a Bait Region 7 that did bike night at the Blue
Okay.
Pelican,
Oh, okay.
the
Okay.
side door there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Very interesting. So much stuff. We could probably sit here and talk like 3 hours.
Absolutely.
Sounds like you have so much to talk about.
Hey, I'll come in anytime you guys want a
Yeah.
little inside entertainment.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know
Keep
today was
Brandon in
mostly
line.
serious, but I mean, you know, my biker nickname is Dolphin, so
Yeah.
most people know
Okay.
me by Dolphin.
Okay. How'd you get that?
I have a very
can tell
precariously
us.
placed tattoo
Oh.
that
I'll
happened.
do it.
That happened to come out one drunken night at a bike party.
That'll happen.
The next morning, a couple of the old timers started calling me Dolphin. So,
Oh.
So you got, that's your riding name
as
now.
you can see, that's my ride name. I'm known in all
That's
over
hilarious.
the U.S., but I got a lot of stories in Michigan. But I mean, I love to tell stories. I love to have fun. I love to laugh. So if you guys ever want just a fun, lighthearted, entertaining podcast, invite me in.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in. We
Yeah.
really
Thanks
do.
for coming in. We're glad that
Especially-
you came here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sharing that
To
story. I
start
know it
with.
was probably not the easiest or whatever, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just nice to be able to get that out to our vets and kind of show them, you know, what we're actually doing. So
Yeah. And to know that there's always somebody that, you know, just keep trying.
Mm-hmm.
there is help out there.
Yes.
Yeah,
And as a
'cause-
peer support specialist, you know, it's important to use my story to help inspire others. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, for sure.
another reason why I'm here, you know, is I want to inspire others not to give up,
Yeah.
to step forward and ask for that helping hand and be told that there is somewhere kind and non-judgmental that are willing to help and able to help.
You know?
Not many people know that. I know I didn't know that when I first moved up here.
Yeah.
Well, this is a
Thank
no
you.
bro vets zone, so
Yeah.
we don't allow that here.
I
so.
like that.
Yeah.
But all right, well, we're gonna
Thanks,
leave you
Nikki.
at this. Thanks for coming in, Nikki, and
Yeah.
we will leave you guys to a good weekend. Thank you, Antrim County, for listening, and we will see you next week.